Now, we might say that a leader needs to therefore always be visionary, always be educated to be able to be an effective leader. So why don't we always find them being elected? When we are engaged in society, like Mr. Roy was, we know the needs of society and we are able to address them. We've got to rise above that, right? And rising above that requires an ethos to be built into our educational system. Now, for me, I think it goes beyond just university because all this begins in your childhood. NEP drives this home repeatedly, but it has to come into practice into all our institutions, whether they be at the school level or whether they be at the university level. We need to understand that education goes to the grassroots level. And while we talk about leaders transforming, we also, I think, need to remember that it is the, the population that votes our leaders into these positions. Now, we might say that a leader needs to therefore always be visionary, always be educated to be able to be an effective leader. So why don't we always find them being elected? Perhaps it's looking at the needs of society. When people are voting, they're looking at who is going to meet their needs, who is going to address their concerns. And I think this is where the whole concept of being engaged in society was very importantly brought out. When we are engaged in society, like Mr. Roy was, we know the needs of society and we are able to address them. And it is when we are able to address them that people will turn to us to find a solution for their problems rather than simply going to somebody because they're from the same caste or they're from the same community or from the same gender because they feel, oh, they understand me and they know where I'm coming from, so they'll be able to address my problem. We've got to rise above that, right? And rising above that requires an ethos to be built into our educational system. Now, for me, I think it goes beyond just university because all this begins in your childhood. As we were told, the universities who are really the prominent Ivy League universities are looking at what were you reading from middle school, which tells you that it has to start, this transformation of education has to start right from the school level itself. And it is the school level that will imbibe the ethos into our children, give them that spirituality, give them the value systems, the ability to empathize, to reach out, to engage in community issues, which will allow them to be compassionate when they are looking at their fellow men. And therefore, not coming from a sense of elitism, but coming from a sense of an understanding of how what they have empowers them to help others and to reach out for the common good. If we can do this with our children and then further strengthen it at the university level by building more skills into them, giving them more opportunities to practice what they are wanting to actually participate in, then we would be looking at leaders who would be truly effective in transforming society, leaders whom people would turn to. So education needs to be not about elitism. It needs to be about educating the common masses as well so that they are able to transcend these perceptions, these inadequacies, these limitations which we have, and they allow us then to look beyond it to people who we feel will be effective in bringing about transformation that will lead to a general concern and a general transformative experience that will be positive in its nature. So we're talking ethos here, and ethos is not built, it was quite lightly brought up by all our participants. It's not brought out by academics. It has to be so much more. The NEP drives this home repeatedly, but it has to come into practice into all our institutions, whether they be at the school level or whether they be at the university level. And I feel that once we can effect this, we will see a huge transformation in our society and in our leaders, and we will have the perception of leaders transforming as well. We will have, as our young man said, Akash said, that we're able to then vote the criminals out because the power lies with us of being able to discriminate right from wrong, being able to make the right choices, because we can see that there is a leader who has values and who has the vision, who has is empowered to bring about change, and who loves the people. When the people see that, then they will rise beyond these limitations that are very effectively dividing our society at present and allow us to be leaders of change. So we need to look at transforming education in terms of transforming all people and then building those who are showing the signs of becoming good leaders. But what I loved also was when our very first speaker, Dr. Rampraj, said that in the West, what you see is that um, politics is not your income. Most of the politicians joining are people who have independent incomes, and therefore politics is service, right? And this is the change we need to bring in our country as well. Our own politicians, some of our own politicians have said this. One of the politicians from my school, who is currently now going to be the MP from Chandigarh, said the same thing many years ago. He said, keep your career separate from politics. Let that be your income, and let your politics be service to others. So I think if we can bring about this sense of into education, we're looking at then transforming leaders, bringing about good people, compassionate and kind people who yet have the strength and the power to bring about change. And that is the combination that we need with our young people.